Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion. And I am Peter, and joining me on the other side of the mic, you better not argue with him about light bulbs because he'll come at you. His watch party. How you doing, sir?
I'm very good. Happy to be here. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Been looking forward to this. Obviously, we say it every time life gets in the way, but
hmm
I've been waiting for this episode. This sets up a lot of things. There's callbacks to some previous stuff as well. But
hmm
just some house cleaning before we get into this episode proper. Um, I just wanted to send a congratulations to the entire Cobra Kai team, those involved in front of the camera and behind, the writing staff, all of that. They won the what is it, best action series, limited series, or made for TV movie. This is the third annual Critics' Choice Super Awards. So we had mentioned this previously it might have been the last episode we did actually. And so yeah, well deserved, obviously. Now,
hmm
along with this, the Critics' Choice Super Awards, they released an acceptance speech. I don't think a lot of people actually saw, but it's on YouTube. It was shared by some of the official accounts and some of the other content creators. But aside from like John Hurwitz holding a Johnny Lawrence action figure, is there anything that you
Yes.
took from that at all?
Well, just the first off, because at first I thought, like, is that the actual award or is that they just grabbed something so they can act like they're holding an award?
Either the latter,
Which,
I feel.
yeah, I know. I think they wanted a prop, and it would have been funny if like they actually had Billy there and they were like pretending they were holding Billy like a, but
That would be funny. That'd be
yeah,
funny. Or maybe pass it along, as one speaks, starts off with Josh
Mhm.
Heald, he says a few words, pass it on to John Hurwitz as if it was a microphone. So I thought that was pretty
Right,
funny.
yeah.
It was scripted. You can tell that they were reading something, but one of the things I made an observation on was Hayden at the end there. It didn't appear that was like an impromptu like addition, to what he had to say. But basically, and I'm paraphrasing. You watched it more recently than I did.
Mhm.
He says something that they're currently working on their final season, and they expect another one of these next year.
Yeah,
That
I think that's like standard, like
okay?
fair. Like we're gonna win. Um, in fact, the way I see it is they may not even be eligible next year.
Hmm.
Because because if it I don't know like the schedule, but let's just assume it was what comes out in during the calendar year. Um, and then so they have to come out this year to be eligible for the next year's award
Right. But they still could for their last season. It would just be the following year,
the following year. Yeah.
probably. I guess depending what their would it be fiscal year or if if there's certain cutoffs that isn't necessarily like Jan 1 and December 31st or whatever. So something to
Yeah,
keep an eye out
the
for.
awards year, I guess we call that.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought it was funny because it was almost kind of like, yeah, let me get this last bit in here real quick. Yeah, or I thought it was just you say that maybe it's just kind of like standard or whatnot, but I was just like, oh, they're really excited and confident about this final season that, yeah, of course we're gonna win this next one,
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's kind of what we expect from them, I think.
I would hope
If you
so,
have
but
been
yeah,
attention. Yeah.
for him to come after the future competitors, I like that a lot. Um, Let's see. Another thing worth noting here for those that are fans of the character of Anoush or the actor Dan Adid himself, he, at the time of this recording, well, actually, by the time you hear this, his book will be out. He has a book called Undercooked, How I Let Food Become My Life Navigator and How Maybe That's a Dumb Way to Live. So that will be available in most places, I feel, just on the website here at penguinrandomhouse.com. It's listing like Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million, kind of like where you would normally get books. But what I pre-ordered was Audible version, and that is narrated by Dana Dude himself as well, kind of like Ralph Macchio's memoirs.
Hmm.
So that's gonna be there. I'm definitely gonna check it out as soon as I can once it drops in Audible. I don't believe on the site says how long it is, but on the Audible website it shows you how long the runtime for that is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially if you guys are like foodies or whatnot. I mean, this is food related. So
Hmm.
just a couple of things to throw out there if you guys want to support those involved with the show. The last time we also recorded Watch Party, we discussed a little bit about Peyton List's School Spirits.
Hmm.
Um, at this point, you actually have watched more episodes than me. What can you maybe not summarize, but what would you say about those first four episodes, in your opinion?
Well, I watched the first three. I haven't
Oh,
watched
three.
the
My
fourth one. Yeah,
apologies. Okay,
yeah, because the first three dropped.
that's right.
So I think it's a good way to classify it. It doesn't feel like it is like a teen drama like WB, but it's not on WB, but like whatever that kind of genre. I do think it's leaning more towards that, but with like a horror dash mystery bent to it or angle. Um, in fact, I saw people comparing it a little bit to Wednesday, where like Wednesday's
Hmm.
got this mystery where she's like trying to solve these murders, except in this case, it's her own. Because the opening scene, she wakes up and she's dead. It's like it's almost a memorial for her. The people who are alive don't quite know she's dead. She's just missing at that point. So like, but she is dead. So like, and there's a mystery. And she for whatever reason doesn't remember how it happened. So that's sort of like the mystery to it. And then definitely, it's high school. So, and apparently it looks like there's going to be a romance, even though she's dead. So, so when I say like teen drama WB, like I think that's sort of the angle the show has.
Did you like the episodes two and three?
Um, I think I like the first one the most, just because it set up a lot of potential. Two was kind of slow. I think episode three, had some really good moments, like two-thirds of the way in or something. There was some stuff that was like really good. And then it like shifted gears to this teen romance thing that like didn't make sense because she's dead, but I didn't want to, we don't need to go into that. But like, so like, I think, yeah, two was the slowest. Three had some really good moments. Until it like, for me, until it shifted to the teen romance and stuff. But,
Okay. For something like that, I would usually say, well, the heart likes what its heart, the heart likes what it likes. But if her heart isn't beating, so where's the where's the romance coming from?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I think after having made that announcement, I was going to cover it. I was really excited that I was approved for yet another, screeners for another series. That I got a little ambitious, and when it came down to literally The Wire, I had notes for my episode one's solo review and all of that. I was like, well, wait a minute, I am going to release it on the feed, but I didn't want to use the Cobra Kai companion podcast image, the cover art for that. And
Mhm.
so, I can always doodle up one myself. That's no problem. But then I was like, well, what the hell is that theme song? And so I tried YouTubing, even Googling the lyrics. I could not find the title of the theme song. And so I wanted to use that. And so at that point, I was like, oh man, I started having all these other ideas. Oh, maybe I should just do two episodes at a time. And as
Mhm.
time went past, and then I started seeing some of the things that you wrote, I was like, oh man, I didn't want it to feel like like a homework, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
And, shout out to Sarah Ashton. I'm going to bring her up here. She was tweeting about it on Twitter, and I reached out and just asked her if that's something that she might be interested in covering the show and writing episodic reviews for the website, which she agreed to. So if that's something you guys might be interested in, if you guys are kind of following that series and would like to read up on something, she just did a little write up, which is on the site now, CobraKaiCompanion.com. where she kind of just briefly recaps the first four episodes. Not a lot of details, but just kind of explains what's
Mhm.
going on right now so far and some of the key characters at this point. So I was kind of reading through it, and there was a few points where I had questions myself. Um, I do want to watch this show because I feel the first episode did a really good job at, introducing the characters, establishing some rules, and at the very least
Right.
was
It
going
does.
by
Yeah.
them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I did like the setup, and I will definitely continue to watch it. We'll just see if I get a chance to finish it, because there's so many other things I want to watch just for my personal reasons. Like Quantum Leap I've mentioned before.
Quantum Leap. Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
so behind on that. I was just talking to Mike P earlier today, and I told him where I was at. He's like, "You're only at that episode." I'm like, "Yes." Well, I haven't had the time, and I would feel bad if like I'm up to date on Quantum Leap and I haven't even finished my season 5 episode reviews with you.
Yeah.
So, but here we are with episode 9. We got one
Mhm.
more after this. Episode 10 will be done, and then we'll have some more fun episodes like top 5 fill in the blank. Um, any other housekeeping you could think of in terms of in relation to Cobra Kai or people involved with it?
Um,
That might be it.
did we, when is it now had where I think, Ralph kind of confirmed they're going to shoot in May.
Right.
Did we have that up on the last episode? I can't remember the timeline
Mm,
now.
I don't believe so,
Yeah.
but why don't you go ahead and fill the listeners in?
Like I think they were at a con there, and obviously they're asking about the next season or something, and I think it was Ralph, right, who basically said, I think the schedule's looking, they'll probably start shooting in May. We had some sort of soft confirmations. Like I had someone from the show in one of my live streams kind of talking about that, hinting at that. So basically, yeah, that probably May is when they'll all head back to Atlanta. I guess it's Atlanta then for shooting.
Okay. So there we go. Yeah, this was just recently. I forget the actual event, but it was in Atlanta
Mhm.
that this came up. Um, and it's not that just because they were at that con in Atlanta that they're currently there and getting ready to film, because I believe just earlier today, Ralph had tweeted out that he was back in New York and was going to see Julia in something, right?
Mhm.
His daughter. Or am I
I didn't see
making-
that. Courtney's in a play actually.
Courtney is in a play. Some of the
That's
cast
true.
members went to go see her. Yuji was the first one, I believe, and then followed Ralph, Mary Mauser, Tanner Buchanan. Yeah, that might have been it. The three of them went to go see
Okay.
Courtney together. I feel at least pictured, and that's what I've seen so far. So yeah, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Is that the right title?
That sounds right. Yeah.
So we have a few companions going to go see it. Friend of the show, Anne, who's been on here to help recap like the visit to Seattle for Ralph Macchio's memoirs. She went to go see it. Mike P is, I believe he's also going to go see it. Also, shout out to Kiara, longtime supporter and moderator of the Companions Facebook group, who found, this podcast because she was watching Cobra Kai on YouTube, and there was nobody else that she knew that watched it but a bunch of Americans. And she befriended all of us, learned to speak English. Now she's coming to the US for the very first time very soon here, and she's going to be meeting up with Mike P in New York. So really exciting things going on with the companions. A couple of our mods recently met up in Chicago. So shout outs to Jenna and Pialani. So everyone's meeting one another out there in the real world. So
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna have my moment later this summer. So we'll talk about that then. So if nothing else, that's probably it. I think yeah, I think that might be it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like series. I know Sholo was at the WB lot recently, but everyone's obviously saying that's probably Blue Beetle related, DC. So
Mhm.
all right. So here we are to recap episode 509, titled Survivors. And this one was written by previous guest, Michael Jonathan Smith. So check out that interview if you want to hear some nuggets from all of season 5. And also the director is Steven Suchida. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I know there's a TS there at the beginning, so I don't know if it's a Tissa or like T is silent, so my apologies. And as always, provided by Amy. She gave us the synopsis for this. She writes, picking up right where we left off last episode, Tori and Sam are doing a great Johnny and Daniel impression, using their fists and feet instead of just calmly having a conversation. Tori storms out, and the party immediately loses interest in any of this. Meanwhile, the real Johnny and Daniel have finally learned from their communication errors. After unexpectedly encountering Terry Silver, Johnny goes straight to LaRusso Auto and fills the team and Louie in on it. They briefly consider what this means before deciding that a more fun way to spend the night would be taking Johnny and Carmen out to celebrate the new baby. Everybody but Anush, who has a date and a healthy skepticism towards Johnny Lawrence, is on board with this, and Louie goes into party planning mode. Their night is all fun and laughter and White Claw and dancing, with a side of unexpected confessions of love, drunken singing, and a hijacked limo. Also, Anushi is apparently dating cousin Vanessa, and everyone but Louis think that's hilarious. The kids learn everything they need to know about the lengths Terry will go to via a long D&D metaphor from Stingray, where he confesses that it wasn't Kreese that put him in the hospital and that he's terrified and ashamed. After their fact-finding mission is complete, Miguel convinces Sam to put herself in the shoes of a Cobra Kai and put aside the Tory hate. She pays her a visit at her apartment, and where she finds her attending to the injuries she suffered from her evening of punishment, aka false imprisonment, and literal child abuse at Cobra Kai. They forge a tentative partnership to rescue the valley and the world from this karate nightmare they found themselves a part of. So thank you, Amy. Nailed every bit of one of those points there. Watch party, thoughts of this episode?
One thing about like season 5, I think overall, like, I think, I mean, a lot of people really like it. I really like it. Some people have different opinions, but I think like most everyone agrees, like it ends so strong. Like the last 2 episodes together are just like maybe the strongest out of the series so far. Which is tough, I mean, I don't know about episode 9 specifically, if it's like the best episode 9, but like season 5 ends so strong, and it's definitely starting in this episode though.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I'm a fan of all of the writers, and with this particular episode, there's so many great endings to a lot of these episodes, a lot of great cliffhangers. I would have to go back and kind of rewatch all 50 at this point, but I feel like this one gives me the most anxiety at the end of the episode. Just with everything that's going on, and you're like, oh my God, these three, they're jamming together, having a good ass time,
Mm-hmm.
singing Eye of the Tiger, and then all of a sudden, you see Reggie pull up. I'm clearly jumping to the damn beginning of the episode, or the
Yeah.
the ending of the episode.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, oh my God, what the hell is happening? And it just goes
Mhm.
on and lingers, and you're just like wanting to rip your hair out. Like, let's just start episode 10 right away.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, a lot of fun to be had. So
Mhm.
yeah, let's go ahead and kick off here. We like Amy says, we pick up from when Sam left the party. Miguel finds Eli, who's playing beer pong, and asks if he's seen Sam. This is also when somebody calls out that there's a fight, and we see Sam and Tori. And I thought this was kind of interesting that we start off with the new POV when the last one it ended with Sam's.
Right. Yeah. Tori coming to Sam. Yeah.
Mhm.
And,
Well,
I think
yeah.
like, it, at least in regards to that, I think like it's a way to get back into the episode. Just rather than literally starting with the fight. So like, it's just a way. And then also then you can get like the crowd coming, fight, fight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it kind of sets it up, and I just love like the kind of the not so much the framing, but kind of like the angles that these scenes are being filmed, because we haven't really seen the courtyard from these angles before, and especially at nighttime,
Mhm.
at least this much of it at nighttime, and it feels a little bit bigger and that's what I really
Hmm.
liked about like season 4 as well, when we kind of explored. Actually, no, my bad. It was season 5. It was 505, where we got to explore a little bit more, on the second level, and
Right.
oh my gosh, another tenant
Hmm.
who sticks his
Yeah.
head out of the door kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I like this, and that's what I like about having like guest directors,
Hmm.
that will give us a different perspective or a different angle of scenes or
Hmm.
locales that we have seen for so many seasons at this point. So I like the way it looks, kind of brand new. But Tori Secrets, they're coming out. She talks about, working with Kreese and the ref being paid off. Sam blamed everything that her family went through on Tori, and this is where Tori says, screw you, LaRusso, after being called a coward. Um, she was trying to say something like, you don't know what it's like to be like a Cobra Kai, stuff like that, and said that she knew that it was a mistake. What do you think she meant by like she knew it was a mistake? Do you think it was like eternally, like she was kind of like, her conscience was like, you should come out with this, but what if they don't receive it well? Do you think it was like internal monologue, or do you think somebody told her to go talk to Sam or like the other students?
No, I don't think anyone told her. I think she just had doubts about
Mm,
telling Sam.
of course,
You know,
her biggest rival.
right, exactly. So I think that was like her whole approach to it because she couldn't trust Crease anymore, or at least, felt like that door was closed. And so now she didn't know what to do. So she's ultimately trying to decide what to do. And so she it was like, should I go and just tell Sam or not? And then maybe she decided to just tell Sam. Maybe she thought like this is also a way then to shut down Terry Silver too. But obviously, rather than like Sam being receptive to it, or obviously attacked her instead. So
Right,
yeah.
which she knew was a very real possibility as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is when we go to the hospital, and Johnny and Carmen are getting an ultrasound done of the baby, and Johnny saw the baby kick. There's a Dr. Howard that says it's too early to see them kick or know its gender right now. Um, Johnny admits he's never gone to any of Shannon's appointments when she was pregnant with Robbie,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like this for Johnny because again, growth and maturation. Words that I described seasons 4 and 5 of Cobra Kai, that Johnny says, you know what, says that he or she is perfect. So
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't even care. But we all know that it's going to be like a girl named Laura, right?
Something like that. Yeah. Or Danielle.
I'm
Or
holding on to Danielle. I just
yeah.
think it'd just be, the biggest troll on Johnny's part. It'll end with that. Like, yeah, yeah, we thought about calling her Danielle, and again, Robbie and Miguel are fighting for that last piece of wedding cake.
Right,
You
right.
know,
I do
anything?
believe
Yeah,
Johnny. I think the baby did kick. I think he's right. It is a kicker. You know.
yeah, yeah. I like. I was trying to insert a joke about like a skeleton baby. Just Cobra Kai skeleton costume, because we see,
Oh,
the
it's this
ultrasound.
baby's first skeleton costume.
Yeah, something like that. I was trying to come up with something, but anything else that you picked up on this before we move on to what happens immediately after this?
Yeah, really, it's just what we already said. I mean, the
Okay.
fact that he constantly talks about how he's having a boy, it's just like it just feels like the biggest setup for him to have a daughter. So,
Right,
um,
right. I think if we polled like the fandom, I feel the majority was probably voting girl.
yeah.
Yeah. After this, they hop into an elevator from the maternity ward, probably on the fourth or fifth level, because while they are deciding the hyphenated last name, Lawrence Diaz Lawrence, the elevator stops on the third floor, and it's none other than Terry Silver.
Mhm.
Um, I do wonder what's on that floor, on that third floor,
Well, they make it a point not to let us know, right?
right? And Vanessa Rubio, who plays Carmen, she kind of implied that, I mean, she might have. I'll just leave it at that. She implied that she knew what ward or level is on, or what's on that third level.
Hmm.
Didn't reveal it, but she mentions that in my interview with her. Um, Now, this is really interesting because Thomasine Griffith plays this scene so well that you can read it in so many different ways, right?
Hmm.
The whole pausing Mr. Lawrence. Obviously, he didn't expect him to see him there. And you're obviously, I don't want to say obviously, you're leaning on the side that he was there for himself, right? Not to just pop up out of nowhere just to see them two.
Um, yeah, I do think like there's some reason he's there, professional services or whatever, professional building. Um, yeah, so I think and it just works in for the omnipresent Terry Silver we have this season, where he's always showing up. Um, it's obviously it's not just here, it's been throughout the season, like when he's at the fundraiser in episode 4, he's hosting it and such. It's just like it's this omnipresent feel of Terry Silver. Um,
Yeah, it's just, like we know that with the dialogue, everything's deliberate.
mhm,
He says something about everything that he does is for their future when looking at Carmen. I'm assuming the baby, right? For the kids' future and to savor every moment. Just kind of like the whole legacy, this whole idea. So like a lot of questions here about Terry Silver's headspace,
mhm.
really where he's coming from. And the whole line of savor every moment, do you think that's because he thinks life is too short? Anything that whole theory?
Um, that like, well, he thinks life is short or his life may be short. Um, I guess the theory certainly works. I don't know if that's necessarily what they were thinking when they wrote it or something like, but it's a lot of like just great ominous lines of dialogue. So, it just depends on how much you want to read into it.
So speaking of reading into it, do you think they've already decided, let's just say the word fate, the like Terry Silver's fate for season 6, because think about like the his medication on the nightstand in
Mm-hmm.
season 4 and him at the hospital in season 5. Some of the choice dialogue for his character in season 5 as well. Do you think they have already decided, or do you think they put those things there and want to kind of gauge where maybe the fandom is leaning so they can do the whole flipping of the script as, they're known to do?
Well, I don't know if they're like planning ahead to flip the script. They could just have the stuff there so that they can decide later what they want to do.
Mm.
Um, I think like a lot of shows, and I think the show, writes things in a way like where that's there. At least they have the option. They can do that. I mean, I suspect they've had like an end game in mind for Terry Silver basically from the beginning, from when they brought him back. Um, so maybe the exact details, if it is there's some like medical twist or something, are peppered in there, but they could also do something else if they wanted to.
Yeah, I like to imagine that the Schlossberg brothers already had an ending in mind since 1989. I don't know if you heard or recall my very first interview with them when I had Brianna help me write up some trivia to kind of put them on the spot. And um, I think we were asking about Margaret, like what was the name of Terry Silver's like secretary? And
Hayden got it
uh,
right, didn't he?
he ended up getting it right, but
Yeah.
there was I don't remember, it might have been John who was all like, "Oh, your brother would know this," and that was the first time that I first found out Hayden had a brother, and he was also in to Karate Kid as well, and so yeah, they've
Who's a
already had a
supporter, by the way, his brother is a supporter of, the show and the fandom.
he
He's even
is.
supported my channels too. So,
Yeah, yep,
um,
he follows me
yeah,
on Twitter
yeah.
and Instagram, I believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's see here. To congratulate you, what do I mean by here? What next do you have for notes?
Um, well, the next scene,
Oh, to congrat.
Lily
Oh, no, no,
offers,
no,
oh,
no, no, no. I was reading something we already discussed. That's what happened. So, okay, filling the dealerships next, right?
yes.
All right. So Johnny is filling in the LaRusso trio at the dealership, and Louis suggests Silver, or maybe not suggests, he thinks that maybe Silver had them surveilled, and suggests that maybe they should surveil him back. Now, do you think Terry Silver actually wears shitty cologne, or maybe it's just not something that Johnny likes?
No, I don't think Terry Silver wears shitty cologne. But then, but then, would Johnny be able to distinguish?
What is shitty and what is not? Like fine wine. How do you know what's good wine or not?
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Daniel says to breathe easy. Chosen has cleared the perimeter by himself because, of
Hmm.
course.
Hmm.
Um, Amanda thinks that they should take the night off, and she has a bottle of tequila. She thinks that Carmen could help her finish, but Johnny kind of lets it slip here. Um, he says that, like Carmen shouldn't be drinking in her state of mind. Chosen
Hmm.
drops a little foreshadowing of good to have clear mind in case of attack. So
Okay,
like,
yeah.
yeah, these things were like sticking out like a sore thumb to me with
Hmm.
my little, like going into season 5 theory of like Chosen's gonna die. So I was like looking for all of it, and here they are
Yeah,
slapping me
yeah,
with all these little things.
there are a lot of setups for that, which
Yeah,
we'll
absolutely.
get to later too, especially.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Louis insists he take care of this to make up for blowing up the car. So I like them wrapping that part up, and I like this line too. Just to kind of it puts Louis at the club later, right? The
Right.
whole setup of the ending that I already kind of went through at the top of the show here. Um, I like that because there's got to be some thought into that, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, maybe we have a club scene. Well, they're gonna get kidnapped. Like, how do we get there? Well, maybe it's one of Louis' friends. Because I just we'll get there. But holy shit, I love the last few minutes of this episode.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. They try to invite Anush, and he's like, "Nah, I'm good." But congrats, Johnny, on procreating.
Hmm.
And we get a brief shot, like 1 second, of Chosen just looking a little uneasy, and I don't like the vibes.
Looking. Hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about? They
Oh
they they,
yeah,
they just
yeah.
cut to him real briefly, and he just has this look, kind of like, I don't like the sound of this, or that's just my read on his reaction. Like because he's saying to keep his mind clear, and they're talking about going out to drink tonight, party,
Hmm.
all that stuff, and yeah, and they just cut to him briefly. They could have done without that, but like just that 1 second, I saw that, I go, oh my God, they're setting something up. He's gonna
Hmm.
die. Um, we cut to Miyagi-Do, where Dimitri recaps the tea spilt by Tori, calling Terry Silver Sensei Targaryen. He's down with GOT. We learned that in season two, season two, and he tells the other kids to never let him miss this house party again.
House
But he
party.
was
Yeah.
working. He was working, right?
Yeah. Apparently late at night. I guess.
Yeah, gotta make that money.
I guess. Yeah. He worked so much he just passed out.
Is there anything else that you got from this moment? It's kind of
Um.
short. I feel they kind of decide against, like, confronting Terry Silver because of like what happens to Daniel. I think Sam kind of brings that up, obviously, and but Bert, kind of steps up and thinks that he can probably get through to Stingray because they're still friends.
Mhm. Oh, I look. I realized I had a note from the the previous scene that
Mm.
something in the background. I said apparently they admitted Tom Cole is right because they have an espresso machine in that room, which is, if you
What
recall from season three, Nespresso is what Tom Cole came in and said they should get the Nespresso. People line
you
up
remember
for
that? I Okay, so I kind of forgot how the line went. I was gonna say something like, "Oh, maybe Anush stole it, on his way out," because
it.
that also happened in season 3. Anush going
Yeah,
back to me, LaRusso Auto. So
nah.
that'd be funny.
Yeah, they had the Keurig, and Tom
Mm.
Cole's like, no, get the Nespresso, and now they have a Nespresso in there. So there you go.
I wonder who does the ordering. I wonder whose influence was that.
Well, you
You
know
think it
what?
was
It was
Louis?
probably Louis' job when he started, and then Robbie did it. So it's basically whoever's doing what Robbie used to do now, probably
Hmm.
keeping everything stocked and such.
Right. No stevia,
Yeah.
no
Hmm.
Keurig now, I guess.
Hmm.
So let's see here. We go back to the Cobra Kai dojo. They're in the middle of exercises, and Sensei Kim has Tori. What does she do? Oh, she tells Tori to go to do double time, so
Double
just
time.
twice as fast, right?
Hmm.
This is where Terry Silver asks Sensei Kim, "What reason did Tori give for leaving the Sakai Takai?" And she just says lies. So I guess Tori gave her a bunch of gave her a bunch of reasons that she didn't believe, obviously. Um,
You know,
any,
it occurred to me like though apparently Tori going to Sam the night before hasn't come back to them yet. Like especially since they had that
mm,
big blow up in the fight.
right,
Like because one of the things like that just like I always kind of just question, I was like, I don't really get it. Like she's back here in the dojo, like after the decision of the previous night to go and tell Sam. So it's like, did she give up on that? Is she still wanting to take down Terry Silver? Or like what's her total mood right here?
right. Because the other thing is like she kind of, and I don't want to say gave up on Kreese, but she's kind of done with that, right? Like Kreese told her to go take care of herself and all of that. So she
Mm-hmm.
feels, for lack of a better word, betrayed by him in that aspect because, she had already gone through so much just to help him out for him to kind of turn his back on her, so to speak.
At least left alone by him. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
then Sam
Mhm.
goes to see, or she goes to see Sam at the party. Nothing gets back to Cobra Kai, and then she's going back to class. Why? Right? Is that kind
Mhm.
of what you're
Yeah. Yeah.
questioning? Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a good point. Maybe still continue playing it out, just because
Like,
if she just stopped, they're gonna go find her at her apartment, and maybe she didn't want to bring the trouble home, so
well,
she
I mean,
doesn't stay
yeah,
home.
that's true. That's
Her
true. I
mom's
mean, like,
sick.
yeah, I was wondering in the back of my head as I'm like thinking it, if like in a way she's still trying to go through with Kreese's plan to take down Terry Silver. She's just going to do it herself in a different way.
Could be,
Because like
yeah.
earlier she was dropping the newspaper and the thing and trying to let it out that Terry Silver was a liar. But that didn't work. So now she's going like in a more direct route. So,
It could also be like, she's just kind of continuing to go along with the routine until she figures something else out, and,
yeah,
and,
that's definitely could be.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's that. And also with the whole, like, just if I don't stay home, they're not going to come to my house and cause any trouble there. At
Mhm.
least at the dojo, in her mind, Devin's probably her only ally at this point.
Probably, or at least only noted ally. I
Yeah.
assume most of the Cobras still look up to her. So we'll see. Um,
Right, right, right. Yeah. Yeah, 100. We're now outside of a club, and a stretch Hummer rolls up with most of the grown-ups. It says Reggie's Ride or Die on the side here. We meet Reg briefly
did
because
you have
remember,
did you have anything on Robbie's speech though too?
oh, you know what? That's why I have a little hyphen that was supposed to let me know I needed to go back and write something. I think that's where I stopped for a
Oh
note and
yeah.
just completely, yeah. So, can you please set that up since I don't have I know Robbie comes in and tries to poach all of the students.
Yeah. So Robbie, he comes in. There. Well, Kim and Silver are talking about the Sakaita guy,
Mr.
though
Mr.
they're gonna
Keen,
pay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and then Robbie kind of struts on in, and he's like, "I want to apologize for what happened. I should have taken you with me." Right. So that's that poaching, as he said.
Yeah.
He says you're being manipulated. The enemy is Silver, I think. And then Silver kind of just almost like mocks him. He tells him get it stance, throw a side kick or something, and the class listens to Silver instantly. Um,
I was like that
it,
too.
yeah. Mhm.
What does he say? It's something like, there's something about, listening versus following or doing.
Mhm.
See, this is where it sucks because I didn't write it down. And he demonstrates by calls out a command and then they followed. And then he's like, okay, well, they heard you, but they listened to me, or something like that, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's yeah, basically. This
And
I
also, I don't know what it is, but Tanner's my height. Okay.
Mhm.
And according to like Jacob and Sholo, Tanner always tries to like say that he's a lot taller than he actually is. But uh, I like eye to eye, looking face to face at Robbie, looking at Terry Silver in that dojo, he doesn't look that much shorter. You know what I mean? Like you would think that Terry Silver would tower him even more, or does he? And it just doesn't look like it to
I
me.
think he does. Yeah, maybe it just
Okay.
depends on the shot and the angle
Okay.
they have the camera. And then, but also Robbie, as he turns to leave, he turns and like looks towards Tori, and that's what
Right.
Sensei Kim notices. He looks towards Tori.
Right. That will come up again later. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And now we're outside the club.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we briefly meet Reggie because again, you're gonna want to remember that face for later. Um, and again, just dialogue here that kind of sets something up here. Louis tells him get comfortable because it's going to be a long night.
Hmm.
So that's just a line to kind of set everything up for today. They go through security, and Chosen gets stopped for his size, tucked away nicely inside his blazer. No weapons allowed. Yet the gentleman lets the walking gasoline inside the club.
Yeah, he still has his fists, and that's the only
Because
weapons he needs.
his body is a lethal weapon or something.
Yeah.
Um, this is where Johnny discovers White Claw because it's still 2019, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, sounds right. So yeah, he discovers White Claw, hilarious. Let's see, Chosen. At this point, he doesn't want to drink. He wants to keep his mind sharp.
Hmm.
But ends up giving in, and gets a Long Island iced tea. Now, is that something you drink? Are you a drinker
I
at all?
um I haven't drank a Long Island in a long time, but a lot of times back when I would occasionally go out or something, I did order Long Islands. Mostly, I don't know, because I figured it was if an easier drink to just get a lot of alcohol in. So
Sure. You'll have to get a short island next time. So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I,
Well,
I,
I didn't have any major karate battles at the
oh,
end.
that's
I
fair.
guess this is why I've lived an unfulfilled life. I just
I do wonder why they went with the Long Island iced tea. Like is there anything other than like that's where like Ralph is from? They talk or Dana Dude when I interviewed him and recently. Oh, this is also worth mentioning. Ralph Macchio was a guest on Dana Dude's podcast Green Eggs and Dan. That was
Mhm,
a fantastic episode. That's why I love podcasting because it's more intimate
mhm.
and the conversations they had. I don't think Ralph would have um in he seemed really comfortable. Like I couldn't see him speak the same way on camera, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Right. So like it
mhm.
was released in audio form. So I feel like he was more laid back. He threw, a few swear words in there. I'm like, oh, geez, Ralph, I'm covering my mouth here. Oh my God, he said a bad word. you know,
Mhm.
one of those things. I was just like,
Yeah.
wow. But, yeah, a couple things that came up in that conversation, you can also hear in my conversation with Dana Dude, just talking about going out to eat together where Dan gets machioed. So it's a term that they kind of came up with what happened there. So I'll leave it at that as a tease, so you guys can go check out that episode on Dan's Green Eggs and Ham. So wait, green eggs and Dan. I'm sorry. Um, but also in my interview with Dan Dude, he says he might have mentioned this in his podcast, but with Ralph as well. But he says that when Ralph walks into a restaurant, he's like the Long Island Jesus or something like that. So a little reference to Long Island again. Um, what else do we got here? Louis getting shots. I like this where he says that it's really strong. It's almost like getting a kick to the face, and he kind of looks at Johnny at this moment too. Pretty funny. Stingray. He is playing with some friends? Question mark. Dojos and Dragons. Now, this is not a game I play. I know some of the cast members do. Um, do you dabble? Are you familiar with this game?
Dungeons and Dojos or
Wait, I'm sorry, Dungeons and Dragons. Is it Dungeons and
Dungeons and
Dojos? Okay,
Dragons.
I called it Dojos and
Well,
Dragons. My bad.
the Stingray's version is
Right.
Dungeons and Dojos, right? So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like what I'm asking, because I don't know, from what you're hearing in this conversation with the people he's playing with, is he good? Like, because they kind of like call him out on something. They say he's like the worst dungeon master or something. Or
Yeah, I don't think he's that good.
okay,
He seems to
does
be
he
more
think he
obsessed with
knows how
the,
to
I
play
guess,
but doesn't really? Is that kind of what you're picking up?
um,
I'm not getting a good read on what they're thinking of Stingrays. That's where I'm trying to figure out here.
I feel like he knows and he used to do it, but now like he's more off on his own things, like Metallicus. Like it's such like like if I played with someone who was doing like that, I would find it annoying too. Um, although I also think like the other people are probably just being paid to be there or something. Like, you know,
Right?
rent a
Bribed or
friend.
something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They're Craigslist friends or something.
Hmm.
I do like the little music cue. It's a little like fantastical, like like the
Yeah.
Johnny's. What is it? Is it Quiver? Like a fantasy version of Quiver, I feel, or I
Hmm.
might have the wrong title. I'm sorry, you guys. Um, so that's fun. And at this point, Miyagi Fang, they show up as his Stingray's friends are leaving. And now, forgive me because I don't really quite get this reference, but Stingray tells to Bert that he Admiral Akbar'd him. Now, isn't that the guy that says, it's a trap?
It's a trap. Yeah.
Right. So,
Um,
so what did Akbar do that Bert is doing right now? He brought the
um,
enemies over or something, or
well, that Akbar didn't spring the trap. Akbar is like the one who said it was a trap. So
mm,
yes, it's not technically, they didn't technically Admiral Akbar him.
mm.
Um, but they did kind of trap him. Like Bert was there and then the rest came in, right? Sam and Miguel. So he felt like he got trapped.
Yeah, he didn't put up much of a fight either. He just kind of lets them all walk in, but he is outnumbered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I don't remember, but when we had Mark on here and we kind of discussed, the scene where Terry Silver's beating on Daniel and all that. Where do you remember where we um came on where, how do I word this? Did we decide if we think that his house is bugged?
Um, I don't know if we decided on that.
Yeah.
I guess we talked about it, but
I, I feel like we could have been split too. I don't know if we actually came to an agreement, which, one way or the other.
then even if it's bugged, it's not necessarily being monitored all the time. So,
That's true.
um,
That's true. Because because it's coming up here, about the whole, the D&D campaign that he's working on is like, dude, you're outing yourself. You're just changing
mhm,
some words. How's that any different? You
mhm,
might as well just tell them. Because yeah, if it's
yeah,
being recorded, you know what I
mhm,
mean. But to what you're saying, you're right. It's not being monitored at this moment. So maybe when he makes that decision, he kind of sees an out. Like, hey, if I tell them now, this might go a certain way. Well, but then they kind of leave with like a thanks but no thanks kind of thing.
mhm.
We'll get there. So we were back at the club. We hear the end of Daniel retelling the crew how he uncovered Chosen's sinister plot to give money back to Tomi Village. I added that last part in because, um, because they bring it up, right?
Mhm.
Even Carmen's like, oh, that doesn't sound like it was a really good plan. And Chosen's like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Now, I'm sure I told this before. Do you remember me sharing when I went to go visit UG back in August and we kind of talked about this very scam?
Um, I don't remember what you said. No,
Okay. So obviously
wasn't part of
August
it.
was before season 5 came out.
Right.
So we had no idea the scene existed, right? So I'm sitting there with UG and my buddy, and we start talking about Karate Kid 2 again. And we're like, did that scam, did that ever make sense to you? And he kind of just took a couple beats and was like, no. And we all had a good laugh. And then we started, talking about it a little bit.
Mhm.
And he was like, yeah, it just makes no sense. And I said, well, this is my theory. I think Chosen was giving money back to the villagers and Sato didn't know about it. Right?
Mm,
Right? If
yeah.
Ken Cole could sit there and say all these nice things about Terry Silver and how we're kind of misunderstanding the man, same thing with Chosen. He was giving money back to the villagers. So
Yes.
So I'm glad that they kind of brought that up here. So there's it's no coincidence that Michael Jonathan Smith also wrote The Right Path, episode 304, that
Hmm.
also included Kumiko and stuff like that. So he watched a lot of Karate Kid 2 in preparation for that episode or those episodes, if I recall. Um, let's see, Daniel gets another round. That's another callback to that episode. And I love how
Oh, yeah.
Amanda, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
But he's like, I will get it.
yeah, I'll get. And Amanda says something like the dance floor is calling her name, and I love this like little dance she does. It's almost like she's flapping her elbows, kind of like I don't know what word to describe it, but I saw that I was like, oh, that's saucy, like I don't know what saucy means, um, but I just love that Amanda is like, she is there and she's gonna have a good ass time.
Hmm.
So I'm really happy for everybody here. But Johnny decides to stay and talk to Chosen here, who's just
Hmm.
sitting by his lonesome, drinking that Long Island iced tea where his mind's not going to be clear, just looking out into the crowd. I do not like this for Chosen, except for that Johnny's sitting with him.
Hmm.
Any thoughts on that?
That
Just
Chosen's kind of what off in his own mind.
Yeah,
Um,
a little bit, yeah, but that's why Johnny stays to talk to him a little bit. But like
mhm.
again, like I'm looking for certain things. I'm like, oh man, Chosen's all by himself and he's drinking. This is not good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially if you're worried bad stuff will happen. But I like the scene between Johnny and Chosen, though.
Well, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Chosen even says like they're the same, and I was about to write like, oh, they're same but same, except for like he continues on and go, well, not so much. Just that he says that basically I'm kind of forgetting what he says exactly, but but Johnny talks about how like like that kick was all he ever thought about, and but
Hmm.
there's other things to kind of focus on. Now he's got Carmen, he's got the baby on the way. Now this is something that I completely um missed. Okay. Now, when we recapped Ralph Macchio's book tour in Seattle and that whole panel with special guest Yuji Okamoto, um, we discussed how one of the questions kind of led to Ralph talking about his marriage, with his wife for 35 years and whatnot, and Yuji had kind of talked a little bit about his, but when he was in reference to like Ralph's longevity with his wife or however you want to word it, he says something like, "Oh, how you do that?" or it was like something like that. And now, like, kind of rewatching this episode, I go, "Oh, he was channeling Chosen in this very moment." When he's talking about like, "Oh, you have a beautiful wife," like, "Oh, how you do that?" so that's what he was doing was this very moment. And so I thought he was just snapping into Chosen and just saying those words to Ralph, right? But he was actually just quoting Chosen from this episode. So just something I picked up there. And if I didn't say it before, that panel, the last time I checked, it was on YouTube, the entire hour. So if you guys want to see Yuji and Ralph on stage together, anything you have to add to this particular moment
um,
before we go back to the dojo, Cobra Kai dojo?
so I get no this moment. I mean, I think we covered this. The
Okay.
little moment of bonding between Johnny and Chosen.
It's pretty brief.
It's
Like,
good. Yeah.
they kind of cut it, to yeah, they cut
But
it.
they bond over past mistakes. Yeah.
Right,
Um,
right. We're back at the Cobra Kai dojo. Class wraps up, and Silver instructs Tori to stay after the class. They bring out a solid stone punching apparatus. The punching. What do you call it? What do you call this thing?
punching dummy.
Punching dummy. Yeah, from Karate Kid 3, but this one's
Mhm.
made of stone
Mhm.
instead of just wooden boards. So, um, yeah, I didn't know what else to call it. But Sensei Kim says to break it, you must use all your power. And she hits it a few times, even says that, this would break her hand. And this is where Sensei Kim says, that you're, I'm paraphrasing, but she says something like, you're in love, that boy, he's holding you back. And she says that, she broke up with him and, um, okay, what is it
Because
before
of
she,
this dojo.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, she broke up with Robbie for the dojo because of the dojo,
Mm-hmm.
calls her the bitch, a bitch, and then she breaks it. So she channeled all that anger, right? So this is stuff
Mm-hmm.
that we've kind of learned from previous seasons. In season 4, where she tells Robbie, when they're kind of like punching the punching bag in one
Mm-hmm.
of the earlier episodes, maybe 402. Um, but Terry Silver here, he says that, it must have been a hard choice for her, but it was the right one, I think is what he says.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Yeah.
says something like, he hopes that she continues to keep making them. Now, we obviously saw this from Karate Kid 3. Did you have any kind of like insight to like any parallels between Tori and Daniel, from these moments?
It obviously is very similar to the Karate Kid 3, Make Her Knuckles Bleed, but
Mm,
since the origin is completely different, like I don't have a strong association with that. To me, like the connection to Karate Kid 3 is in episode 5 when Daniel's fighting Silver, right? And he hits the wall and his knuckles bleed. Like to me, that's the connection. So like I don't associate this moment with Karate Kid 3 as much, even though obviously they're very similar.
it's more of a callback,
Yeah.
than it is like a parallel to like the
Right.
story or anything like that. Yeah. Let's see. We cut back to the Miyagi Fang interrogating Stingray, which, by the way, I
Oh,
didn't mention. Yeah, go ahead.
wait, but about the dummy thing, like
Yeah.
the part of me that like did Taekwondo a long time ago, like I look at this and I think to myself, well, she didn't tell her she had to punch it. Like she could have done like a side kick to the middle.
Mm.
Would probably might have been easier to break, or even like an elbow strike to the arm. I like. There's just like some things to me that like they kind of like just for well, whatever, like speed, just could skip over stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, why doesn't she kick it? That would be so much better than punching it with your hand.
It's
You could
true, and
get a
Daniel
good
kicked
strong,
it too. Yeah, in
yeah,
the
you could
third
get a
film.
strong kick. And if you can break it in one shot, you probably won't hurt your hand. You hurt
Right.
yourself by not breaking it. So, um,
A couple of the things I just remembered that this was one of the earlier shots that we saw as well before the season came out. A picture,
mhm, mhm.
from behind the put the stone man or whatever. And I remember kind of questioning like, oh, is there a picture on it? Is it Sam's picture? So,
Right. I put
it,
that in my video. Yeah, that was
yeah,
there. Because they didn't even announce Sensei Kim yet.
right. Like, who
Yeah,
is this,
yeah, we
person with
didn't
the
know.
really long hair? Is that
Hmm.
another sensei? Is that another student?
Hmm.
But also like at one point, Tori does try to walk away from this because she didn't want to do it.
Hmm.
And, the other senseis from the fist, they kind of prevent her from actually leaving.
Hmm.
So this is a teaching technique of sorts for the way of the fist, right? Because Sensei Kim is familiar with what this is. Terry Silver
Hmm.
has done it, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, really interesting. So I am actually, you know what? I am looking forward to whatever training montage we're going to get with like Sensei Kim and company.
Hmm.
Just to kind of see like, oh, they do that too, or that kind of just kind of compare the
Hmm.
history of Cobra Kai from the films versus the new Cobra Kai with Sensei Kim kind of thing.
Right.
Um, Interrogating Stingray. He comes up with the new D&D campaign. Hawk, lets him kind of tell his story, and he comes clean. He actually says he's willing to give it all back, but the dwarven monk, which is who he is, almost died. So that's kind of what is holding him back.
Hmm.
But he does say that he looks up to them, kind of names some of them, and he wants to be like a proud and noble warrior, which he doesn't think he can be. So
Yeah,
I
he
like
doesn't
this
feel like
speech.
it. Hmm.
So and some people don't. Well, where do you land on this speech?
Um,
I think it's sincere, like
yeah, like it's sincere. I don't know. I don't like the whole D&D context of it. Like, is just like maybe not my favorite. I don't know, and I can't
yeah,
quite tell you why. Um, but ultimately, that what's underneath it, like where he talks about he's afraid of the silver haired king or something.
right. Hmm.
Mhm. Like so like he's afraid, like that's all good on it. Sometimes like the D&D context of it, I feel like um probably isn't my favorite, but I it makes sense for what it is for the scene.
Hmm. Yeah. And also just a little shout out to like, at the very least, Jacob and Sholo, and a lot of them play the D&D, and
Mhm.
um, Rose Bianco mentioned, I think, in my first interview with her, that Sholo even teaches, like how to play D&D and stuff like that. So yeah, just a little something probably inside baseball for all of them, for some of them anyway. Um, we let's see here, Sam and Miguel, they're in the hallway just right after this here. She Sam blames Tori for everything, and Miguel tries to explain, about Cobra Kai. You've never been a part of it, so you don't really know what it's like. And he brings up that at least Tori admitted, she told the truth, and it's up to Sam really, it's up to her what she decides to do with the information Tori gives. What else did you take from this, between, this whole thing between Sam and Miguel from all of season five?
Um, like this is like another thing, like because like she found the the
Yes.
octopus last
Right.
episode or something. But like
Hmm.
this is what happens like when you're like writing these scenes, but like they obviously don't want them to like get back together or something until the end. So they just but they have to kind of like acknowledge that it's going on. So it's kind of like we'll bring it up and then put it aside just so we can wait to have the climactic moment at the very end.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah.
so yeah, that's as far as the Miguel Sam part of it.
Yeah, this is kind of like their version of the Johnny and Daniel's, like, will they or won't they, right?
Yeah.
It,
Hmm.
just not as physical.
Hmm.
Um, we cut back to the club. This is where Daniel finds out that Chosen actually loves him some Kokomo,
Hmm.
the Beach Boys
Kokomo.
song.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, fan
Hmm.
of that song. Johnny says Chosen's got it bad for her, and by the way, he talked about her. Chosen comes over and brings up the ice blocks, so we get a little nod to, again, try to
Hmm.
get two, which this is kind of another one of those, like, oh man, we still didn't get like an all six reference, but he's talking about the ice blocks, right? He took down six senseis in the second episode, didn't say all six. It's fine. It's fine. Maybe we'll get in season five or season six, all six, right?
All
So
six.
yeah,
Yeah.
all six.
Which
We'll get in season
season was the
six.
best? All
No,
six.
all six. There you go. Chosen shares how, Kumiko, she always knew where to find him. I thought just another sweet story coming from Chosen here.
Hmm.
And he talks about how when they were young, she always found him. Um, and when he was shamed by the village and ran off, she then again found him. Now, do you think, like, why did Kumiko go find him that second time? Do you think Sato, asked her to go find him? Do you think she did it on her own just because he mentions that, she was so kind to him or whatever. You think just because she's just a good person, and she thinks she actually knows Chosen, that everything that went down at the end of the events of the Karate Kid 2, that she feels that that wasn't really him. You think it's something like that?
I think that's it. I think like Kumiko maybe deep down felt like there was a better side to him. That wasn't him. You knew also he had changed over the years. Sato gave him a second chance. So, and she sought that. And looking back, I almost feel like maybe we saw a little of that, back in season three, when she
Hmm.
was there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that was definitely there. Um, Yeah, I thought this was really sweet, and also, if they've known each other for as long as, we're kind of learning here, um I'm sure Kumiko probably saw a change in his attitude or even demeanor. The fact that this LaRusso kid, this new face in town, maybe he changed, and she picked up on that as well. Like, well,
Hmm.
that's not the Chosen I knew. Maybe he just needs somebody to talk to him. that kind of thing. So, I mean, I would love to see a spinoff on that. Um, let's see. Daniel, he gives some pretty good advice here. He says that, well, she went after him, and maybe now it's his turn to go after her. So I love
Mhm.
this, because like,
Yeah.
we also find out Chosen was being respectful. That's why, because he knew how Daniel felt, and, Daniel's
Mhm.
married now. So, it's like, well, yeah, they were young or whatnot, but don't let my feelings for her from, in the past prevent you from chasing what you want. They're both
Yeah.
single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it worked. Like I wrote that, yeah, I think like it helps that like he has Daniel's blessing
Mhm. Yeah.
to, go after Kokomo.
Yeah, yeah. So at this point, dancing commences. We
Mhm.
see Louis, who sees Anoush and finds out that he is there with Nessa. Love this. I love how Louis just dancing. He's like dancing with two girls, and then he sees Anoush, like, your girl is real or whatever.
Yeah.
And so after finding out that it's his sister that Anoush is dating, he punches him. Vanessa slaps him, and
Mhm.
then Anush comes out of nowhere and tackles him, and then they fight. Hilarious scene.
Yeah, yeah, hilarious. It has one of my favorite lines from Louis. Maybe it is my favorite line when he says to her, "You can do better than him."
Right, there's that, and then it's
Yeah.
something
Uh,
about something about embarrassing the family.
that could have been. But yeah.
Yeah, that is also in there. But yeah, you could do better than him. Yeah, well, I mean, he likes girls with father daddy issues. We learned that in season one. So
Mm,
hopefully she doesn't apply here with that.
right.
Um,
She's the one who will settle him down.
right. And Anush, I mean, not Anush, but Louis doesn't know that yet, right? So
Mhm.
he's just looking out for little sister. I totally get it.
Mhm.
Totally get it. I got two myself. So, um, let's see. Then, so right after this is a Chosen's phone call. And again, just like all of the signs of like, oh, this guy's gotta die. So Chosen makes a phone call. He leaves a message, basically tells Kumiko that he wants to see her upon his return, that he made a big mistake. The mistake was not bringing her with him to the US, and that,
Mhm.
he's on a very important mission right before he hangs up and says, goodbye. Now, let me see. There was something he says party time. I wonder if that's just another one of those, like, Terry Silver and Creed say party time. There was an episode called Party Time. So Chosen
Mhm.
says party time. Now the second face, that's not a reference to anything, right? Because like Carmen and Johnny are kissing, kind of kissing farewell because the women are going to take off.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Now,
a reference.
okay. And now, do you happen to know the like the difference between regular Uber and Uber Black? Because I don't. But we know that
Um,
Johnny was an Uber driver earlier.
Oh, I think Uber Black, it's like the more expensive one. And I think usually they have nicer cars,
Oh, okay.
or something. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So it's like if you want like a nicer car and are willing to pay more, is
Got
the
it.
Uber Black. Yeah.
Okay. We cut to Tori's apartment where she's icing her hand. There's a knock at the door, and it's Sam. Sam asks her about her hand, which she doesn't want to explain because she doesn't think Sam actually cares. But Sam says that she's there to listen. She also looks around the apartment. There's kind of trash everywhere. Sees Tori's sick mother laying in bed. Now, I am curious. Why do you think the house is full of trash? Because I know Tori's tending to her mother. She's also at the dojo. She's also running around doing things, or was for Kreese and all of that. You think it's more of like Tori is literally the only one taking care of everyone at home and just has no time to clean up?
I guess that's what it's supposed to be. It wasn't this messy the last time, we saw it. Um,
When
but
was the
like,
last time? With like
season
her
3.
little, okay, little brother and
Yeah. Mhm.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I think it's funny, like there's cereal boxes. Like I think one of them, Yeah, I wrote it down. It's like it's a from Whole Foods. And I thought like it's like organic cereal, organic peanut butter and chocolate balls from Whole
Mm.
Foods. And I think like boy, like if you're hard up on cash, that's probably the wrong place to go do your shopping. I don't
Maybe
know. That's
Amanda.
just me.
Maybe Amanda helped out, right?
Maybe, but I don't know. Then there's other stuff. I don't know. It's just like in the mix of something because I'm like looking through it and I see this like the 365, which is like the Whole Foods brand. It's like there's like an organic cereal. Like it's just like what is that one doing there? It just feels out of place.
And if it wasn't for what you're saying there, like I was gonna say something like, oh, maybe that was for Robbie, because we know that he likes cereal without water or without milk. Just add a little bit of water, but
Hmm.
maybe the that particular brand is good with water. Who knows?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, at this point, Tori shares her story about feeling like a fraud, and now her life is a living hell. Sam mentions Stingray won't talk, and Tori has an idea of has an idea. That's pretty much
Hmm.
it. Did you pick up on anything else about her story of her kind of coming clean?
Um, I mean, like pick up on it. Not
Anything else to
necessary, but
add? Yeah.
yeah, I think it's um it is straightforward. The setting as a whole, obviously, it's meant to be very impactful for Sam, and I think it has that effect. Um, she's injured, the house is a mess. Well, maybe actually, but we could say she didn't clean up because her hand is hurt. Um,
Yeah.
so so that's why she didn't clean up tonight.
Well,
So yeah,
little Brandon needs to do his part and help out
I
too.
know he
Yeah.
does. The
Yeah, that
kid's a
lazy bum.
slacker.
We cut to Silver's humble abode. He's having a drink with Sensei Kim. Discuss a little bit of Tori and Devin, and I forget how they get there, but they're talking about like Devin, kind of being young or green or whatever. And Sensei Kim says something like "youth is the greatest power," and Terry Silver kind of adds, that's one thing that money can't buy, but it won't matter because Cobra Kai will live forever once they win. Um, this is also interesting because Sensei Kim questions what if his enemies crush his dream,
Hmm.
and he ensures her that he's not going to let that happen. Now, I I'm not getting the sense that Sensei Kim, I don't think the Sakai Takai is that big of a deal to her. What
Well,
do you
it's a
think?
means to an end for her,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
She wants the family teachings to spread, and that's what he's offering. And win the Sekai Taikai. So,
And his
I think like she's she's hesitant or like not fully trusting of Silver. She's obviously here in it all of this all the way, but like I think she doesn't. She's obviously not convinced in Tori. And that's why even she asked him, "What if your enemies crush this dream?" Because she's not even fully convinced on him.
Yeah. Okay. And at the same point here, I have the Tigers playing in the stretch limo. All three men
Hmm.
are singing it, including Chosen. So, fan
Hmm.
of Rocky, maybe a fan of Eye of the Tiger. Um, but I love Johnny playing the air drums, and
Hmm.
everyone's just having a good
Yeah.
time. Louis and Noosh coming out, hugging and apologizing. And Reggie walks up to them and says, "Someone's stolen the vehicle." And then we find out that the doors are locked inside, which is also sus because like how do you I mean that's just they have the childproof lock. But anyway, the doors are locked and they try to tell the driver that they're going the wrong way. And again, my anxiety is high at this point. At least my very first viewing of it. Maybe the
Hmm.
first few viewings really. And we get the end snake.
Yeah. The whole scene is like, it's something I've been meaning to say. Like, season 5 mostly flows like it could have been the series finale. Like, so like it cuts to like Louis and Anoush and they're like making up and like Anoush maybe be settling down as a girl, like we're wrapping up storylines, right? Like that's something like you get a big feel like things are actually getting wrapped up here,
Yeah,
from like Tori letting it all out to Sam in this moment, and then like the minor characters are getting their storylines wrapped up, and then you have this big, um, like what clinching teeth clenching moment where like they're singing that it starts driving wildly, and you realize like, wait a second, why are Louis and Anush not with them? And then Reggie shows up, and just before it we had Silver like, I'm not going to let that happen.
exactly. And so we're all
Mhm,
assuming that it's him.
mhm.
So let's see here. Last thoughts on this episode before we get into the feedback?
um let's see. So like I was saying, yeah, it feels like it's building towards a series finale. Definitely, like I just said, wrapping up the storylines. Really good. I was thinking I had missed my note back at Stingray's story time. I felt
Mhm.
like he's a character to be pitied. You could say it's like the true meaning of pathetic. And I think that's also partially maybe why some people actually react negatively to that. Cause like you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to watch a character, like he let himself get beat up and now he's stuck in this mess. And you just have this feeling of pathetic. And I think maybe some people I think a lot of people would just react negatively like that. You don't want to, you don't want to watch a character like that. You want to watch your character like succeed. Um, so that's something, about that scene is something I had written.
Yeah, this episode for me was like a roller coaster, and like towards the end there, you're going on a really slow, steep incline, and then once we realized that the guys were kidnapped, you just hit that 80-foot drop.
You hit the
You
drop
just
and realize
yeah,
your restraint isn't working. Um,
yeah. Oh Jesus,
yeah,
yeah. Pretty crazy.
yeah.
A lot of great moments from this one for sure.
Mhm.
And let's see, we got not a lot of feedback, but we got a few here. The first one comes from Dorian. He says that this is the episode that proves that the wooden stone dummy is not connected to the Quicksilver method. It's a punitive tool used to discipline students that stray, in this case, Tori, or brainwash them into thinking that they're invincible, like Daniel. This was one of the most painful scenes in the whole series. The Sam and Tori beef is finally squashed, and the truth is neither are to blame. The truth is neither are to blame. They're kids. End of story. I think I know what it means. What he means.
Mhm.
Yeah. The next one comes from David M. He says, "Love this episode, ending it with the party limo posse as we all come to know them in 510 singing Eye of the Tiger was insane. If you would have told me back in season one that Daniel, Chosen, and Johnny would be getting drunk and partying, I wouldn't have believed you. You know what? And I still don't believe it, to be honest, David.
Yeah.
Oh, um, it's insane how far this series has gone. One thing I don't get is why didn't Tori use the video of her being coerced into punching Stone Dummy Man as evidence? She tried leaving, but the fist stood in her way. I would say that she was practically forced into nearly breaking her hand. That's a good question. Maybe
I
that's
think it may
something.
not be as convincing, because it just looks
Or
like she's practicing.
yeah,
Like, she's trying to show the cheating, the fraud, so, um, just punching the stone man from tonight, could just look like practice, you know.
right. And I guess if you think about the dialogue, the other one's a little bit more damning.
Hmm.
You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
this one seems more like an exercise, a little bit brutal, no, actually very brutal. But yeah, the other one was well, I guess was it the same dojo? It was the same dojo, right? Yeah, the flagship. They're both the
Hmm.
flagship.
Yeah.
So let's go with that. Just the fact that the other one he's admitting, to bribing the ref and all that stuff, just ensuring the victory of Cobra Kai.
Hmm.
So this one doesn't really do it, but you could still use this as like, hey, this isn't right. you're, abusing kids and what have you. It's a little bit different. They're really trying to get Silver more on the other thing. Let's see. The next one comes from Jera. She says, I was never a fan of Tori, but I felt so bad for her in this episode, and I'm glad Sam is starting to see what life is really like for her. It was nice to see the adults finally get a chance to relax and have some fun. Loved the Anush Nessa relationship. That reveal was awesome. Chosen's phone call to Kumiko was so sweet, and the okay, bye made me laugh. Daniel, Johnny, and Chosen singing "Eye of the Tiger" was one of the most epic things I have ever seen. Absolutely loved it. And I agree with that. Yep. It
Yeah.
is quite epic.
Hmm.
The next one and final feedback comes from Jay. He says, poor Chosen. He looked so disappointed he couldn't take his eye into the club. To Johnny, White Claw's the opposite of badass and tastes exactly as you described. That limo looks like a lot of fun. Once again, Miguel is the one that gets through to Sam in a time when she needs someone. And Sam finally got to see how life really is for Tori. And all I can say is it's about time. I always felt Sam started that beef in the first place, and Tori just never backed down from her. Nice, they're finally working together. The whole stone dummy thing was messed up. It was messed up in Karate Kid 3, and it was even worse this time, mainly because it was stone, not wood. Felt more bad for her than I did for Daniel, probably because she's a girl. Robbie gets a lot of balls walking into the lion's den and talking smack like he did. Even Silver was impressed. And last but not least, Stingray. Cool story, bro. Thank you, Jay, for that. No, Robbie, big kahunas stepping up to Silver like that. So he doesn't fear him.
No, he doesn't. Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for leaving the feedback. Again, we have one more episode left, episode 10 of season 5. That if we can't get it, this weekend I have some plans. So within the next week or two, I would say
Hmm.
for the final episode, and then we're going to start doing some fun coverages, and we'll continue to keep everyone updated on Obliterated, on Twisted Metal, on season 6 as news comes out. Um, this might be short notice for people that are kind of in the area, but the last weekend of March, the 24th through the 26th, some of the cast members will be in Cincinnati at Horror Hound. Martin Cove, Shola Maridueña, Peyton List, Robin Lively, and Barrett Carnahan are all going to be there. So Ralph and Billy had to drop out for reasons. So I think that's it. Watch Party, do you have anything to pimp out that you're working on, or anything you want to pimp out that you've recently released?
I am, yeah, I'm working on another theory video for season 6. I'm going to cover sort of, I think, towards the end of the season, how I think like major plot line. So hopefully that'll be out soon. Depends. I got a trip coming up, so we'll see how it all fits in with all that. But yeah, I got something coming soon at some point.
All right, and Watch Party 1 at Twitter and Instagram?
That still is, yeah, yeah, and watch party on YouTube.
All right, and do follow us on Twitter because at least when I catch you doing a live, I try to put that out there so that way
Mhm,
people can tune in, and you'll never know who stops by and who might be able to answer something.
mhm.
But great interactions, some trolling, and you handling it much better than me. Um, for me, again, if Twitter is your thing, you haven't yet followed me, you can find me at Cobra Kai Pod, at Cobra Kai Companion with a K on Instagram. Check out the website if you wanted to kind of read up on Sarah's thoughts of the first 4 episodes of School of Spirits. And, I'll be looking to possibly add more contributors to the website to, write about Cobra Kai things maybe mentioned in interviews, kind of like, Ralph mentioning filming season 5. I would love to have people kind of write little things like that. So that way these little nuggets can also be found in written form. So, yeah, just, save it as a bookmark. And I'll make an announcement when companionnetwork.com, starts having things added to that. It's live right now, but there's nothing on that website. So I want to thank everyone for your guys' continued support. And until the next episode, tastes like watermelon, take a piss. This is part of the Companion Network.